Are you looking for a super simple masculine card or a way to create a quick and easy Father's Day card for those of you in Australia? Well, then I have the perfect solution for you. Hi everyone, it's Steph here from Chaos in the Craft Room, and thank you so much for joining one of my quick tip videos. So to create my really quick and easy cards, and this can be done for any card, not just masculine cards, I just get 2 pieces of pattern paper that match nicely, and that can be either 2 random pieces of paper, or it could just be the same piece of paper, and if it has a pattern on both sides, the colors usually go together really well. So you can just cut out 2 pieces of pattern paper, and the 2 pieces of pattern paper will each make 2 cards. So here I've got 2 lots of 2, so I'll be making 4 cards. Then to decide what size to cut all the pieces of paper is I get a piece of black cardstock, and that's my backing cardstock for the card. So I just cut that out to the size that I want the card front to be, and then I cut down the pieces of pattern paper 1/4 of an inch smaller on each side, so lengthwise and widthwise, and that way when I put the piece of pattern paper on top of the card base, you can see there's a nice border around the outside. Then our next step is to cut the rectangle piece of pattern paper in half, so from corner to corner, so we're cutting it down to a triangle shape, and we're doing that with both pieces of pattern paper. So you can go in the same direction, it doesn't matter on what angle you're cutting them, as we'll be going both ways. And the hardest part of making this type of card is to make sure that you are actually cutting from corner to corner, not just missing the corner. So I just take a bit of time to line it up properly. Then when I go to do my first cut, I realize that my blade isn't very sharp, so I do need to get a replacement for that. But I just have to cut it again a second time just to make sure it cuts all the way through. But no big deal, we can keep going. And next time I'll just go backwards and forwards to make sure that I've definitely cut it all the way through, and try and replace that blade as soon as possible. I do find that to be a common issue with these paper trimmers. And then I'll just cut that last bit by hand with some scissors, as I've given up with that piece. But you can see there that we've created our first triangle, and now we'll go back in and do the exact same thing with the other piece of pattern paper that we want on the same card. And then thankfully this bit of paper cut okay, and then we can put those triangles aside, and that's for the initial 2 cards that we want to create, and then I'll go on to the next 2 pieces of pattern paper for the second 2 cards that I want to create, and just cut them in the exact same way. And you can imagine once you're going, it's very easy to create a whole bunch of these cards. Either just create the backgrounds and decorate them on top the way you want to when you know who you want to give the cards to, or you could just already create them all and have a pile of cards ready to go. Okay, so now we've done the first cut for each piece of pattern paper. We have the second and last cut to do for each piece. So we're going straight down the middle. So we're going from the corner of the triangle down to the longest side of the triangle, so the hypotenuse. And I just measure that longest side of the triangle and mark directly in the center. So this one was 17 centimeters long, and so I just divide that in half, and that's where I make my mark in the center. So when I cut my piece of pattern paper, I'll be going from the corner, the right angle corner, straight down to that mark that I'm making on the longest side of the triangle. And just so it doesn't get too repetitive, I'll just speed this video up a little bit. And I love creating these type of cards, not just for masculine cards. I also just create general neutral backgrounds so that I can easily just have some background cards ready to go that I can just pop a happy birthday or a simple sentiment on top. And for the first cut here, you can see I'm having trouble with this trimmer again, but that's okay. I can cut the last bit again with scissors. But now for this second piece, you can see that when I make this cut, we create 2 triangles out of the one triangle, and they're 2 slightly different size triangles. And you'll see just how they get positioned on the card once I've cut them all. So just go through and do the same thing for all of them. And then we end up with 4 triangles for each piece of rectangle pattern paper that we started off with. And this is a great type of card to create when you don't want to think too much about what you're going to make. You can easily do this while you're on a call or watching TV. You can just be trimming down a few bits of paper. So then we sort out exactly what pieces go where. So out of the one piece of pattern paper, we've got 2 larger triangles and 2 smaller, narrower triangles. So we put the same ones on the same card, and then we do the same for the alternating paper pattern that we've decided to go for. And just make sure you have them facing up in the right direction if they do need to go in a certain direction. And then we just glue it down. So there's 2 ways you can also glue them down. The first one is you can leave that border on the edge and make them all the pieces of pattern paper to touch in the center. Or you could place the pieces of pattern paper out on the end of the black cardstock, and that way you'll have a little strip of black between each of the pieces of pattern paper, which is also a really nice look. So for this first set of cards, I'm putting them all touching in the center, and that way I have a nice black border around the outside. But for the second lot of 2 cards that I'm making, I'm doing it the other way. So I'll have a little bit of a black strip in between each of the pieces of pattern paper, and I think that also gives a really nice contrast, and it's also a bit more forgiving if you didn't cut the piece of pattern paper perfectly straight. You can fix those errors that way as well, and it looks just as nice and effective. And then once we've gone to stick those down, then it's for the fun part of decorating the top of the card. And on top of the card, you can really decorate them in any way. You can just put on a simple sentiment, or you can get all creative with your die cuts and stamping and put them on top. It really allows for anything in this type of card. So you can see there we've got the black strip in between the piece of pattern paper for those cards. And for these ones, you can see we've just got the black around the outside for the border. And that's the cards that we've created today. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to hit the like and subscribe. And I can't wait to see you next time.